What's going on, Ravens fans? It's Samuel Njoku with Ravens Talk. Episode 3, we're at now. Having a lot of fun with this. Glad you guys are too. Ravens pick up a huge win against the Dallas Cowboys, 28-25. Defense almost let go of the game again, but this episode we're going to talk about the offensive line because last week I was very boisterous in my displeasure with the offensive line. More so the personnel that John Harbaugh and company chose to put out there. Definitely show some glaring holes in the games of a few Ravens offensive linemen, but this game was different. Now, we have the caveat by saying this is the Dallas Cowboys defense. Their run defense isn't very good. In fact, it's downright awful. But there are things in this game that we saw that the Ravens can transition to other games moving forward, and we'll touch on it. Let's start here. This is a play that didn't do very well as far as yardage goes. I know the Ravens had a lot of huge chunk plays, but I definitely want to start this game because we're going to focus in on the right side a lot in this episode, and we're going to focus in on Daniel Faalele more so than not because he has been the subject for a lot of criticism, from myself included. But there are things in this game that I saw that had me very optimistic for the trajectory of this team, and Lamar Jackson mentioned it, that we're going to have to give some of these guys their flowers. I actually retweeted one of the posts from the Baltimore Ravens saying, okay, the tape don't lie, so we will see. The film does not lie. We will find out, and boy, did I. We're going to start this session right now. Shotgun formation, Derrick Henry in the backfield. We'll see what happens. Hikes the ball. Let's stop right here. Look at DeMarcus Lawrence. And look at what his responsibility is here. Obviously, this is the read option play. Looking at Lamar Jackson or Derrick Henry, he stops here, flat-footed, meaning that he's anticipating Lamar Jackson to keep this ball, and then he'll have a opportunity to kind of cut him off here and stop a big play. Lamar Jackson recognizes that, and he hands it off to Derrick Henry, and he runs for a few yards. Now, first things first, great play by DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he did a great job, standing in between where Lamar Jackson will go off and where Derrick Henry will possibly go off. This is a big-time tackle by him. But let's focus on Daniel Faalele because we mentioned that he was much maligned the last 2 weeks. And here, you see he sets his feet and he double teams with the help of Tyler Linderbaum, by the way. Linderbaum had a great game. But he sets this up, double team, and then boom, hits this. Now, here's a hole. Derrick Henry has a chance, and that's a terrible arrow, but let's try it again. Derrick Henry has a chance to go up this hole as it was designed to do. Tyler Linderbaum has one guy and potentially a second defender to block, and he does just that. But this is just a big play by DeMarcus Lawrence to get after Derrick Henry. But kudos to Daniel Faalele for one, understanding that there is a second rusher that could potentially disrupt this play and to bounce off of Linderbaum and to attack the other defender, something that he has had trouble with in the past, and we highlighted that in previous episodes. But Linderbaum did a good job here. Gave him some room. If Derrick Henry had a shot here without Lawrence to potentially bust through, we saw him do lots of stiff arms, breaking tackles, and he would have been one-on-one with the safety. I'm not sure that the safety would have been able to stop him from making even a bigger play, but small play, but definitely highlights what we saw and what we liked from Daniel Faalele in week 3. Okay, this next play is probably my second favorite play of the afternoon for the Ravens in regards to how much of an impact the offensive line had on the game. I show this angle first because I want you to just take a gander at what Derrick Henry does here. It's pretty beautiful in this angle, and then we'll dissect from the other angle. Derrick Henry gets it, cuts inside, breaks a tackle, breaks another tackle, end zone touchdown. That's why you bring him here. Okay, so we saw the play, obviously. Let's see how it develops. I mean, we talked about, again, how the Ravens' right side has struggled to do anything, really, of substance. And a large majority of this game, the Ravens did run from the left side to great success, and that possibly has something to do with the overall effort from the defense, wearing them down as the game progresses. But shout outs to the right side. I mean, what else can you say? Daniel Falele here, Patrick McCarry, I would say. It's just night and day. I can't even wrap my head around the difference between week 1 and 2 and now. Again, we mentioned Cowboys defensive front, not the greatest at stopping the run, but you play who you play, and boy, did they play in week 3. Let's go ahead and run this film. They move Ricard to fullback. Look at that. The double team of Tyler Linderbaum and Falele. We talked about Ben Cleveland, how last year he did very well in unison with Linderbaum, and more of that here now with Falele, even more so. Patrick McCarry does his job and creates what looks to be an amazing hold. Now, the funny thing is, and what makes Derrick Henry very special is, your first instinct as a runner probably would be to look at this massive hole right here. You have a defender who's possibly going to come here and break up what would be a huge play. But 9 times out of 10, I think you take that matchup and Derrick Henry does what he does best, and that's make you look like a kid. But that's not what happens there, which is really good. But Derrick Henry, stop here. Derrick Henry immediately notices that McCarry is probably giving up a little bit of inside leverage here. Maybe a shot for this defender to get involved in the tackle along with this defender. But he notices that Falele and Linderbaum have created a great hole that you really can't see from this angle. And this is where Derrick Henry is going to cut inside, and the rest is history. Whew! Look at that. We talk about him losing a step. I didn't see that. I see agility. And I see defenders trying to figure out what just happened. Not only did Derrick Henry create this play, yes, in some regards, but also helped get McCarry extra leverage for this defender. This guy is going to have a more difficult time. We talked about how he could possibly enter from this hole. He's going to have a way more difficult time grabbing Derrick Henry from here. And now number 6 becomes primary target for Derrick Henry. And we know what Derrick Henry does after that. Makes him look foolish. And he runs it down. But all in all, that's just a huge play by Derrick Henry, but an even better show of what the Ravens saw with Daniel Falele, especially in this run game. I mean, again, we talked about how Falele struggled even more so as a run blocker than pass blocker in certain aspects. He just shut a lot of doubters up, at least for 1 week, against the Cowboys defense that isn't the greatest. I'm being honest here, but boy, more of this for Falele will make a lot of people, including myself, look pretty foolish. All right, I like this play a lot, so I wanted to talk about it. Not much in regards to the play at the right side of the line, but also in the read option play, anticipating, making your defenders, the opposing defenders, think twice before making the play. You'll see right here, Micah Parsons lined up on the right side, similar to what Max Crosby went through in his time last week, where he really disrupted the play and was pretty much the star of the show in the Raiders' victory over the Ravens. But right here, you see the formation set up. They motion their receiver. Stop right here. Well, let's go a little further. Boom. Right here. Look at the way the offensive line crashes on the right side. I think it further makes Micah Parsons believe that this is going to Derrick Henry. He's already, if you're like this, if your face is towards where the play is supposedly supposed to go, and you're not really flat-footed, a la what we saw with Derek Lawrence earlier in the read option play, then you're cooked. Lamar Jackson's looking right at Micah Parsons, and he knows that this is a play that's going to really challenge Micah Parsons' ability to chase down the quarterback. So we assume and we know that Lamar keeps this, and they're going the other way. Now, look at this. First of all, this is superb blocking by the right side. Tyler Linderbaum, Falele, McCarry. I mean, we're going to sing the praises all episode, but fantastic job by those 3. Read option. Let's keep it going. You got Isaiah Likely leading the charge, or Lamar Jackson. Isaiah Likely he talked about it in the offseason, how he wanted to become a better blocker to help this team. And all I see or splash blocking plays by Isaiah Likely. I know we talked about how great it was as a pass catcher in week 1, but he has been a dominant blocker, especially in open space in situations like this. So shout out to Likely. You keep it moving and, you're catching Lamar. Good job by him. You got 2 other guys to help close out the gap, but too little too late. That's a great job by Todd Monken. Great job by the O-line. Great job by Likely, and great job, of course, by Lamar Jackson to get that ball moving forward. It was very difficult to, assess the play of the line in regards to passing plays because the Ravens only passed the ball 15 times. Lamar Jackson completed 12 of them for a score. And we'll actually look at that score here. Same formation, nothing's changed. The Ravens pretty much playing bully ball. No Micah Parsons in the front 4, so this is cooked already, in my opinion. You got DeMarcus Lawrence, who has been a wily vet, but the way this O-line is played, you need a little more than that. Let's hike the ball and see what happens. Take a look at the right side of the line again. First of all, I talked about this. I don't know if I actually posted this clip, but I just love the fact that Faalele is just looking like he's more comfortable in the guard position. A little stuff like the tap to Tyler Linderbaum, which is, basic stuff, but just seeing his confidence, I could just feel the swagger already looking at the film, but we'll keep it moving. Hike the ball, engage. Does this look familiar to you guys? If so, this is the exact play that Max Crosby used to stunt his way to Lamar Jackson and cause a sack. Right here, it looks like Makari and Faalele are both going to engage 92. Faalele last week assumed that Makari had number 90, DeMarcus Lawrence. But again, this is a guy who has grown from week 2, learned from his mistakes, and check it out. He noticed immediately. Makari grabs the guy that was on Faalele, and Faalele immediately goes after number 90 and holds him off. And not only that, but bull rushes him out of the way. Easy grab for the touchdown to Rashad Bateman. Now, that is just completely different from what we saw in week 2. Now, is DeMarcus Lawrence, Max Crosby? No, not by any stretch of the imagination, but just understanding what the defense is trying to do is huge. So credit where credit's due. Give it to him. Daniel Faalele has improved much more this week and last week, learning from his mistakes. And I think that's what, to John Harbaugh's credit, he's trying to get these real-time reps in for Faalele because Faalele is a big guy. And if you get a big guy who can move the defensive line the opposite direction with a big guy like Derrick Henry, you can cause some problems, which is what we saw in week 3. I'm just very impressed with the way Faalele has learned from his mistake, grown. We talk about Faalele's biggest fault being able to combat outside pressure. This is a great example of what can happen when everything clicks for Faalele. So huge shout out to Faalele. Again, criticize him very much so in week 2. And I have to reverse my criticism at least for 1 week and say good job by him. Number 77 came out to play for sure against the Cowboys. All right, guys, this is my final clip of the day. And my favorite clip, I saved the best for last. This is where the Ravens are trying to stop the bleeding. Stop the Cowboys from coming back. Lamar Jackson decided to put it all on himself, but he didn't do it alone. Again, I want you guys to watch Faalele. He's been the star of the show today and the much maligned tackle/guard. Let's see what he does here. I'll give you a hint. This is not going his direction. He's going in their direction. Patrick Ricard by Stanley. We think it's going to be a sweep here. It doesn't end up being a sweep, but watch 77. Look at where he was. He was here. Now he's here. He's moving this way. Look at this. First of all, Charlie Kolar gets blown up. Sorry, Kolar. Got to mention it because even in television, not all 22, just regular television, you see this guy flying off the screen. Hilarious. But Falele is the story of the day. He engages this guy. Look at this huge lane. If Kolar is able to keep his block, this is 6, most likely. Instead, he's able to get him. But what a play. What a play by number 77. The tackle that couldn't move. The Ravens decide to pull guard. Who wants to go up against this big guy? Now, of course, 50 gets the tackle in, but it's too little too late. The name of the game is to get the first down, and Falele knew his assignment, and he did his job. You want to see him push and hold that guy moving forward? Yeah, sure, but this is a different Ravens offensive line than we saw last week. Again, the Cowboys defense is atrocious in terms of stopping the run. We saw it the week prior against the Saints, and we saw it today. But the Ravens need more of this. The Ravens need more of this. Up next are the Bills and then the Bengals. The Bengals and Bills will likely learn from the mistakes of the Cowboys and try something different to slow things down for the Ravens, but good luck. You get this type of play from Macari and Falele, then the rest of the league is in trouble. Of course, everything's roses and sunshine after a win, but I will say this is, even if the Raiders game had a different outcome, my criticism would still be as strong, and I have to walk back a little bit because this O-line played very well. Still think Rosengarten should play opposite Macari. I mean, without Macari there. I think Macari switching and maybe having a more prominent role during swing situations or maybe an extra lineman. But you got to get Rosengarten reps. You're going to do reps for Falele, you should do reps for Rosengarten. But that's just me being picky. At the end of the day, Falele played great. Macari played great. The Ravens said they're putting their best 5 guys out there, and at least for this week, it's hard to disagree. It is hard to disagree. Great win by the Ravens. The defense needs to shore some things up. I almost went defense with this episode, but I was so critical of the offensive line, I had to make an episode highlighting what the Ravens are envisioning with this team, and that's what we saw on Sunday. We'll see if they can make it 2 in a row in regards to the good O-line play when they face off the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Until then, guys, take it easy.